Time now for 1 full hour of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Hough and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, here's your hosts, Doug and Marty.
This is The Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for being here for our half hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. It doesn't get much better than this, kids. 225 national event wins on today's show. John Force gets number 144. And the Sarge, Tony Schumacher, wraps up his 81st, and both will be here. The burnout is complete, and we're set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast around the world, this is The Straight Line on MRN.com. And thankfully, for the last week, I can say here in the Concord, North Carolina studios of the Motor Racing Network, I am Marty Hough, and joining us on the telephone because next week he'll be back here in that seat over there. But this week is in Southern California for the last week, and then making a trek back here to the East Coast is our 10-time national event winner, 4-time IHRA Top Fuel champion. Doug Herbert joins us. Doug, an incredibly historic weekend this weekend at Bandimere for sure.
Yeah, I was in between our breaks program that we were doing at Fontana this week, and I was keeping up with what was happening out there in Denver. And yeah, pretty impressive. I'll tell you what, Alan Johnson, pro stock, Alan Johnson bringing home his 7th win, 10 straight finals, and they've been calling him the King of the Hill for the last couple of years. And I'll tell you what, that fits. I was so happy for Alan.
Yeah, not with the best car of the weekend for sure, but he just seems to find a way to get it done up there. It's amazing, and it's amazing what desire will do, and he'll probably be the first to tell you, yeah, I want to win the U.S. Nationals, but if it isn't the U.S. Nationals, I want to win at Bandimere.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of his places. He goes there, everything goes right, and they know how to run there.
Yeah,
that was great. And then for Force and Schumacher, Andrew Hines, Force's team, Force running the first 3-second run ever at Denver, and then Courtney having low ET, Height having top speed. Force, the whole team, John Force Racing, did an unbelievable job there with the funny car bunch.
Yeah, and just a note for everybody, if we haven't failed to mention that Andrew Hines now has put himself on top of the list of Pro Stock motorcycle winners, now catching Dave Schultz with number 45 this weekend. Can surpass that now at Sonoma coming up. But Force's team, they ran well all weekend long. And one of the things I'm going to talk to Force about is that Courtney, I felt bad for Courtney because she, without a doubt, had the best car on the property all weekend long, and the only time that she didn't run the best was in the final Sunday. I know that's drag racing, and it happens.
Well, she did run the best, but
true.
John Force, 67 years old, he whipped her on a hole shot. I mean,
yeah,
he was telepathic. Those last couple rounds, racing Worsham in the semis, racing and then racing Courtney in the final. Man,
yeah,
he was on it. I'll tell you what, Force is driven, and if anybody that doesn't know him and sees how hyper he is and how hyper he can be, he gets in that car and he is so focused on winning, and that just showed. I mean, he has not lost a thing.
We were just talking about it with Alan Johnson about a desire to win, no matter where it is. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is. John Force, and we talk about it all the time, do not back John Force into a corner. He was 9th in points. He was starting to drop back, and I don't think he was going to drop out of the top 10 or anything, but he had a couple of bad races or had a DNQ or something like that before Indy. Heck, who knows what could have happened. But you get him against the ropes, and then all of a sudden, here he comes out swinging.
Yeah, Forrest is a scrapper, and I'll tell you what, he has gotten fired up, and, I think that he's probably heard somebody say here or there, Forrest, you're too old to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Hang it up. And whatever they've done, they've fired him up because he is better than ever, and that is really, really good to see. And then, of course, Tony Schumacher, 82nd, I think that was his 82nd win. That was big. And Andrew Hines dominated, really. Low T top speed, wins the race. That Vanson Hines Screaming Eagle is pretty awesome, too.
Yeah, and for Tony, it was kind of the same thing for Tony and for John Force, is that they hadn't won in a little over a year, and, not a lot was being said about them, but when it comes to the big stage, and this was the biggest stage that NHRA has had in quite some time, being on network television, being on Fox broadcast, and being live there for those last two rounds, when the cream, it's the old saying, the cream rises to the top. Cream rose to the top at Bandimere. You have the most successful pro stock guy of all time at Bandimere, who wins again and also beats the guys who have been dominating all year long in KB racing. You have Andrew Hines. The Hines name is not surpassed in pro bike. And you also have the two winningest drivers in their classes with John Force and Tony Schumacher, and now I guess if we could put Andrew Hines in that category as well. So the cream really rose to the top this weekend.
Yeah, that's for sure, and pretty impressive. I think the TV stuff, everything that I saw live on Fox Network, that was great.
Yes.
Great deal for Fox, great deal for NHRA. And this weekend coming up in Sonoma, you've got another deal, live network TV. I think that's a good feather in the cap for the NHRA, and it really makes a good weekend for all the NHRA drag racing fans to be able to watch the race on TV and see what's going on pretty much in real time.
Yeah, and to be able to get it all in, they're somewhere around the second round of Pro Stock, a ginormous black cloud encircled the racetrack, which it has a tendency to do up in Bandimere because, you're more than a mile high up, and you get really sketchy weather during the summer months, and it showed up on Friday and Saturday, where they had rain showers and had to come back, and a lot of different deals. It would have really have been a bad deal to have had it rain shortened or have a rain situation where they couldn't go live on Fox. But somebody or something was watching over that event, because when it looked the worst, then all of a sudden that cloud kind of skirted out of the way, maybe spit a little bit on the racetrack, took about 10 minutes, they're back to racing. So everything kind of fell into place during the course of the weekend, which was fantastic for everybody involved.
Yeah, absolutely. That really, for them to be able to pull that off and get through a big rainstorm like that. But in Denver, it's kind of strange because that weather blows in quick and it blows out quick. And the temperature's warm enough that it'll cool off, and get out of there. But it also can turn into a steam bath.
Yeah.
From the performance numbers that they had up there, it doesn't look like it really turned too bad.
No. Want to pick your mind a little bit here. Press release came out on Wednesday. Coletta Motorsports will unveil additional 2016 plans in the funny car division of the NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series. So, in other words, Coletta Motorsports has a funny car that's going to hit the track this weekend. We don't know any more details than that. Whether this is a one-off deal, whether this is going to be for the rest of the season, or if this is going to be kind of a partial schedule until the end of the season, we don't know. But obviously, the Coletta Motorsports camp adding to their arsenal. They've already got two pretty good funny car programs right now, and adding to it. You know anything more?
I don't. I went to dinner with Del Worsham and his wife Connie the other night. Mimi and I did it. And I didn't, it was just kind of a social deal. I didn't really talk to him about that. So I didn't think about that. I need to find out what's going on. But, of course, I guess by the time I find out, we're gonna know this weekend is going to be here. We're going to know what's going on. But anybody wondering about that could go to the NHRA.com website and then go to the Sonoma event and click on entries. And I guess we're going to see an entry on there, is what I suppose. I don't know how they could get away with running a car there without being entered. So I'm sure it's going to be entered on the NHRA site.
Yeah, and what does that mean for a team like Coletta when they've got resources, they've got cars? Obviously, it's not to the point where they're Don Schumacher or John Force now, but now they've added a third, and you put that together with a lot of really, really good racing minds. John Oberhofer, Tommy DeLago, Nicky Bonifanti, and those guys. That's just another arsenal for data that they can help use to get them, through this race and maybe up till to Indianapolis. Who knows?
Well, that's just it. The key is working with people on the team that are really good at sharing information and working together. So as long as they can do that, then yeah, running the third car should be an advantage. But man, just all the extra logistics that are involved with running an extra car, that's a big deal. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. It's hard to say. I mean, but you and I talked a little bit about it before the show. But there may be something there with with Chuck Worsham.
Sure.
They run that Worsham car at different places.
Yep.
Maybe that would be something that would make sense for them to do. It's kind of. Is kind of go in with Chuck and do something there. Dell said he's involved with that operation out here on the West Coast pretty regularly. So maybe this is just a West Coast thing. I don't know. If I had to guess, though, I would think that that seems to me like it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and one of the advantage that that team is going to have is that they're not going to have to rebuild that car from Denver to Sonoma. We talked about it last week, and we talk about it every year here on this show. The enormous amount of work that it takes to undo Denver for the Sonoma race, because everything is different on the mountain. Then you take it down to Sonoma, sea level. I mean, you're talking about apples and oranges, and now you've got to take your apple that was in Denver and turn it into an orange there on the West Coast.
No, your whole clutch setup's going to be different. Your whole fuel system setup's going to be different. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal to be changing that. I think nowadays, something that I was talking with Del Worsham about the other day is the superchargers now they've gotten them where they're so good that they're really not having to do a lot with all the engine combination changes going to Denver. So maybe there's a little bit less changes than what we used to have going to Denver, but nevertheless, it's still a lot of things. You're changing a lot of things from Denver back to a sea level track, and that means you just got to keep a really, really good log and keep really good track of all these things, so that when you go back to sea level, you can put everything back to where it was. Because you make a mistake, and you're going to go out there and you're going to tear some parts up.
Yeah, no question about that. Last weekend for you in Southern California, where are you taking the brakes program, and where can they find more information about it?
Well, last weekend we were out there at the California Speedway in Fontana, at the big NASCAR track, and they actually have a drag strip down along one side.
Yes,
too.
they do.
That was pretty neat. I had actually driven by there 100 times, but never been to the facility, and we had a really good weekend out there at Fontana last weekend. It was hot, though. It was like 110 degrees.
Oh.
So we were sweating.
Yeah,
this weekend, however, we're going to be in San Diego at Qualcomm Stadium.
Oh, nice.
And so that's like home of the Padres, the Chargers, and all that. So we'll be down there in San Diego. We've got, I think there might still be some spots open for one of the classes throughout the weekend. So, but at any rate, if any of the listeners are interested in the San Diego area, go on to the Put on the Brakes website and check out the San Diego dates for this weekend.
Can't wait for you to get back here. Good luck in San Diego this weekend, and next week you'll be here on my right as you normally are, and we'll kick off another great edition of the Straight Line.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it, buddy.
That's Doug Herbert joining us from Southern California, and he'll be back here in the MRN Motor Racing Network studios next week. When we return, we'll have more of this program coming up.
This is The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We'll have more for you right after this.
O'Reilly.
If you're
windows clean and see clearer with Gunk Glass Cleaner. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy one bottle of Gunk Glass Cleaner and get one free. Gunk's high-performance ingredients clean glass and hard surfaces without leaving a film or residue. Gunk Glass Cleaner, buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
NASCAR races are all about world-class, high-performance vehicles, and that's not just limited to the race cars. Freightliner Cascadia haulers transport the race cars and equipment from track to track 38 weekends of the year, keeping your favorite drivers in the race season after season. And from the engine to the seats to the dash, Freightliner specifically engineers its vehicles to give truck drivers a reliable, comfortable ride. Learn more about Freightliner truck models at FreightlinerTrucks.com.
Ready to take the training wheels off your race scanner? Go to fanvision.com and upgrade your experience with FanVision. Not only will you be able to hear the race,
Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets a good run, drafting help from Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Jr. again pulls up alongside for the race lead.
you'll see every moment through live video, instant replays, live stats, and more.
Hi, I'm Jamie McMurray, driver of the #1 Cessna Chevrolet, and I never go to the track without my FanVision. So go to fanvision.com to rent or buy yours today.
Welcome back to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with your host, Marty Hough.
Thanks for being here for this edition of The Straight Line, and joining us right now on the telephone line is the winner of the Top Fuel Division at the Mile High Mopar Nationals at Bandimere Speedway. He's the driver of the U.S. Army Top Fuel Dragster. Tony Schumacher joins us. Tony, congratulations on a huge win this weekend in Denver.
Well, thank you very much. It was a long drought, but well worth the wait. Great celebration, great times, and it actually came at a really good time. So looking forward to some more now. Western Swing, baby. It's beautiful.
You and Mike Green, Neil Strasbaugh, and the team kind of laid down the law early on. Qualified in the 9th position, so your bottom half, probably not expecting a whole lot, or at least I wasn't. Then all of a sudden, a jaw-dropping 378 against Doug Coletta first round. Was that what you were aiming for, or how did that happen?
Well, it's not how it happened. It's how we didn't do it Friday night and Saturday night. That was the question, honestly.
Right.
I mean, we made a good run Friday night, and then Saturday night I was on an outstanding run, and we broke a piece of piston. It was I thought my crew chief shut me off, but we have these new systems where if the pan pressure comes up, it shuts the car off, and it's an excellent deal. With us going live Fox and all this, we can't have these oil downs.
Yeah.
And I was on a really good run, a good 70 run, but when a piston goes out, and Doug will tell you, man, it's absolute destruction waiting to happen. And a lot of drivers, you can't tell some of these things. So the pan pressure, a sensor sees pan pressure, shuts the car off. And I got out, and I was kind of mad. I got out, and I thought Neil had shut me off because the car wheel stood and went right, and wheel stood and went left. And I thought, maybe this boy doesn't have faith in me, man. I was going to get this thing back, but it was actually the pan pressure switch. It shut off, and going into the race, I said, all right, we had a car that was capable of running a 70. Let's do that. There's no reason to go out and try to run a mid-80. We're going to get our butts whooped, man. Coletta's going to go fast, and we went out and made low ET. I'm not sure if it was of the weekend, but it was of the day.
Yeah.
And it lasted the whole. And my last run, final round, was a 70 also. As Doug could tell you, final round, you stuffed that thing a little deeper, so
Sure.
It was probably 77, 78.
Running Antron in the final, of course, that's your teammate. You know what they've got. They know what you've got. That's just one of those throwdown moments right there where it's just like a shootout at the OK Corral. I mean, you're a Texan nowadays, so, I mean, you can probably talk a little bit about that. But is the defending champion, and if that's just haymakers right there.
The value of that price of that ticket was worth more because of that final round and that first round.
Yeah.
Let's not take away Coletta, man.
Yep.
That final round, it came down and it was much bigger than I think most people will know, because 7 times in history, someone has swept the Western Swing. We did it once. Antron did it once. And nobody else has ever done it twice. So we're both out there trying to win the first race. You can only sweep it if you win Denver. You can't do it any other way. You got to start here. And it was just, you had to push it. And we ran, again, I was probably a little late on the starting line. I had a 50 light, but I was probably in 2-3 inches. I'm surprised I didn't roll it in a foot. I mean, honestly, if I could have kept going, I would have. You got to shorten that track up. The races are too darn close. We've seen a tie this year. I think the Colettas had a tie.
Yeah.
Insane. Just so racing's that good, and you got to push it that hard.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you have swept the Western Swing back in 2008, if I'm not mistaken, and good competition there. I mean, but really nowadays, when we're talking about the amount of competition that shows up at the racetrack day in, day out, weekend out, I mean, the chances of doing that again are monumental. Of course, that you're there to win every race, but winning 3 in a row. Coletta did it earlier this year, which was the first time in his career that he's ever won 3 in a row. Just winning 3 in a row is hard enough, but to do it in 3 specific races during that Western Swing, Denver, Sonoma, and Seattle, that is really, really tough.
It is, because you start out in mile high in the air.
Yeah.
You have to win Denver is so difficult. I've been in the finals there 9 times. 7, 6 of them I got beat.
Yeah.
And we had great race cars. The fact is, so much, you got to have a good tune-up. You got to have parts that don't break. You got to have belts that stay on. You got to have all these things that happen, plus a good tune-up, and then you got to drive the car right. It's just difficult. Then you go off and you go to sea level, and you're going to run Sonoma, California, and it's going to be hard. But last year we went to the finals at the first 2 and got beat, and we had a great race car. Great car that was out winning and dominating. So, hey, all you can do is win the first one. And like I said, if I don't win and sweep the swing, I kept anyone else from doing it at best by winning that race. So no big deal.
Yeah, and something that you've done a lot, Tony, is make a lot of history in this sport. But I can safely say that this was one of the more historic weekends in quite a while, just for the fact that network TV was on live at this event. You win, Force wins, Alan Johnson wins 10 straight finals in the Pro Stock class. Andrew Hines becomes the winningest Pro Stock bike competitor. Really, when you step back and look at it, a really historic weekend at Bandimere this weekend.
I like how Tony Petragon said it. He goes, big moments are presented and big teams show up. And we had to sit in that car, literally, about to run Antron Brown, who honestly has had my number. We've been outrun by them so many times. They are the most difficult team for us to beat. They tune their car very, very hard against us. And honestly, if you look back at championships, they probably cost me a few. They beat me enough times where, I guarantee that some of these, times in my career where I came close, it was because of them. I mean, look at my teammate, Corey Mack, a few years back when he was driving the Fram car at the time. We show up in I think, Vegas. If he doesn't beat me, we lock up the championship.
Yep.
But he beats me first round and then loses to whoever was in second place at the time. I think he loses to Dixon in the final. I end up going to Pomona 1 point in the lead instead of, locking it up. So our teams are the most difficult to beat by me because we know the parts they have. Heck, we've trained those guys. We've trained the crew chiefs. We've worked together. We've built these things. So when you go up to race them, they're going to go fast. They're going to dig. Antron's going to have a 40-something light. Guy's a freaking machine.
Yeah.
I mean, I should have taught him differently. I should have been like, what you do is when you hear me go, you go. But he's an animal. The dude's a great driver.
Yeah.
And we've had just epic battles. I think ultimately people say that Coletta's my arch rival, and that's very true. But Antron also is. Yeah. He's as good as any driver that's ever sat in a race car.
But it's hard to have an arch rival who's also your teammate.
Well, are we really teammates? I mean, my dad owns the cars.
Right.
But his car says Madco Tools. Mine says Army.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, Army doesn't want Madco Tools to win, and Madco Tools doesn't care that the Army wins. So just because someone owns the team doesn't make you teammates. Back in the day, Force had teammates. They all said Castrol. They all said Ford. It was all the same thing. It was all one unit. It was a a Ford, Castrol, blah, blah, blah car, you name them, they all name the same things every time. We don't do that, man. Our cars aren't that way. We race each other, and you know, and I'm going to bring it up because someone will, you run your teammate and you win, you get in the shootout. All you got to do is look at our history. In my history in 16 years, I have never had a gift.
Nope.
The one time that I had to beat my teammate to win a championship was Melanie Troxel, and guess what? You also got to set a world record. This one, I got to beat my teammate, but we're both going for, you know, a Western sweep. So anyone that would even fathom team orders type stuff like that has never watched Top Fuel in our class. It'd be like saying the Colettas do it. They don't. They do not do it. They race fair and square. They battle, and I'm proud to race them, and I'm proud to watch them do their jobs, just like our team.
Yep, and you got it done this weekend. Also gets you into the Traxxas Nitro Shootout at Indianapolis, worth $100,000, and that's never a bad thing to bring home or have the opportunity to bring home a big check. Tony, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on the win and the opportunity to take that Western swing. Good luck this weekend in Sonoma.
Sounds good. I hope we're talking on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it is. Wednesday.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate your time. That's Tony Schumacher, driver of the U.S. Army Top Fuel Dragster, winner at Bandimere, puts him in the Traxxas Nitro Shootout, and that is the last opportunity that any car could get into that. The next opportunity is somebody winning a fan vote. So big thanks to Tony Schumacher for joining us here on the Straight Line. When we come back, we'll wrap up another great edition of the show.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. More right after this.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job, our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
O'Reilly.
Has the summer heat taken a toll on your vehicle's battery? Count on O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Superstart battery that's right for your vehicle. For a limited time, purchase a Superstart Premium, Extreme, or Platinum battery and get up to a $15 O'Reilly gift card by mail. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Race fans, you know there's nothing like the power, excitement, and sounds of NASCAR. Ever wonder what it would be like to strap yourself in the seat of an authentic NASCAR race car? You can do it at the Richard Petty Driving Experience. Ride along or drive yourself at one of 15 tracks nationwide. Call 1-800-237-3889 or visit online at drivepetty.com. Richard Petty Driving Experience. It's authentic NASCAR entertainment. Call 1-800-237-3889 or visit drivepetty.com to reserve your experience.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, back to your host, Marty Hough.
Big thanks to Tony Schumacher for joining us on this week's program. Let's give you a look at where the O'Reilly Shredder is going to be this week. If you're in Illinois, you are in luck. In Aurora, coming up on the 3rd, Montgomery, Illinois, on that same day in the afternoon. Then coming up on the 16th, also in Shorewood and in Joliet. Oh, Joliet, Illinois, the home of the Route 66 Nationals and also the Joliet Prison. Kankakee also in Bradley coming up on August 5th. Big weekend this weekend at Sonoma Raceway, the home of the Nationals there. Everybody loves going there. So the second part of the Western Swing, and it's going to be very, very different from what we saw this past weekend at Denver. Want to thank Tony Schumacher for joining us on this weekend's edition of The Straight Line. So for everybody involved, for Robbie Mays, for Daryl, I'm Marty. We will talk to you next week right here on The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Tune in again next Thursday at noon Eastern on MotorRacingNetwork.com and the MRN app. The Straight Line is the show for drag racing fans and is brought to you by Hercules Tires. This program is also available on demand at the MRN.com Media Center, or you can download it through iTunes or Stitcher. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.